Good morning. In this episode, I had the pleasure of speaking to Davinder Malhi. We dive right into discussing the journey of their play, The Roof is Leaking, exploring the writing process, collaborating as a co writer, and taking a closer look at the themes of motherhood and identity. Davinder reflects on his artistic beginnings, lessons learned from theater school, the importance of trusting one's creative journey. He also shares insights on character development, the joy of performing for young audiences, and challenges within the Canadian industry. We also discuss the need for genuine connections and networking, the complexities of performance anxiety, and the representation of South Asian voices in theater, emphasizing the evolving landscape of theater and the importance of community engagement in artistic expression. Before we get into this episode, if you could hit the subscribe button, it helps us out so much and it doesn't cost you a damn thing. Alrighty, I want to start off with The Roof is Leaking. Now, by the time this comes out, your run is done at Canadian Stage, but tell me all about the run at Canadian Stage. How was it? How did it feel? Tell me everything.
Yeah, it's been a really surreal experience, witnessing your own writing being played out. Um, it's been in development with Pleiades for about 2 years now, but Sanskruti and I have been writing it on and off since 2020. A- And I always hear playwrights say this, but it really resonated. Like, it never feels done. It's like, okay, well, now I got this information from this sort of iteration and practice of this piece. Like, I'm ready to take it back and be like, okay, here are the things I want to tweak. Here are the things I want to enhance. But it's been really surreal, and it's been really beautiful hearing the response from specifically the Punjabi community and how people see themselves in the show. Yeah, it's been a beautiful, beautiful thing to witness.
Amazing. What are some of the changes that you would want to make after seeing it?
I think if I could, I think we would make it a little longer. I think there's like certain characters that were like, oh, I want to find out more about this person, or I want to explore this person's struggle a little more. Things like that. That like when we watched it, I think Sanskruti and I were both really excited about expanding on certain elements or bringing certain elements back. We had a lot of magical realism in past iterations, and we were like, oh, we removed it because it was like, let's focus on the core of the story instead of these accessories. But now I think we have such a grasp on the story where we're like, oh, I think we can actually weave these in right here and right here. We were beginning to see opportunities for that.
Nice. That's so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
That is so cool. And so you started writing it in 2020.
Yeah.
What is the writing process that you two have? Because I know everybody's will be a little bit different, but how is it working with another person?
Yeah, so we started in 2020. We graduated into the pandemic basically. And so we had a lot of time on our hands, and this was a story that sort of came up for us. Sanskruti at a certain point had gone through some of her old family photos, and we were talking about our moms and like who they were before we met them, their hopes, their dreams, their fears. Like, did they expect to be where they are in life now? And I think our moms were going through a bit like some transformational life changes at that time. So Sanskruti and I sort of started creating this story. The writing process has been like it's been quite the journey. There's been high highs and low lows. Learning to write with another person, I feel like, is such a unique skill. The way Sanskruti and I do it literally is line by line. We sit down, we say we're going to work on this scene, and then we like figure out, okay, what's the next thing this character is going to say? Okay, okay, okay. And then when you get in a flow with another person, it's actually very, very exciting because when you sink into it, you're like, the other person knows the next line, and you know it as well, and you so both say the same thing. But then there's a lot of times where you're like, no, I think this one word needs to be changed, and so you talk about it. It takes a lot of time to write with another person in this way, but it's the most fruitful way we've been able to work, and it like ensures that both people's voices are heard in the piece rather than one person sort of getting into their own flow. And of course, we've had times where we've like separated and been like, okay, I'm going to work on act one, scene two, and she's like, I'm going to work on act two, scene four, and we come back and we share. But it's majority of the time it is just line by line.
Amazing. That is so cool. And then you were working the last 2 years with Pleiades. How did that come to be?
We had submitted ourselves for a recommender grant, actually. I think
Nice.
2022 or 2023. And then Pilates, they reached out and they were like, hey, we want to do a public reading of this work. Would that interest you? So we workshopped it, did a reading, and then they were like, hey, we want to do another reading, and then another reading, and then a workshop, and then, hey, we want to produce this thing. It was quite an organic progression, but it all started through a recommender grant.
Amazing. That is so cool.
Yeah, I feel like often you submit recommender grants and you're like, oh, well, I don't know, like hopefully this can build a relationship. But it was like a nice reminder that, like, no, 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 people are paying attention. People actually
Yeah.
are listening to what you have to say and are interested by it.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I love the story. It's a very universal, like, what were our moms like before we showed up? They were
Yeah.
fully formed humans with dreams and desires and mistakes and traumas and everything.
Yeah.
And then we show up and we're like, why aren't you a perfect mom? I'm so confused.
Yeah, we like box them in with the label of mother. Mother is such an honor for many
Yes.
women to carry, but it's also something that often we as their children can box them in with that of like, why are you like this and not like this? This is what I expect out of our mother. And we talk about it a lot in our play, but I think there's this thing that with mothers, sometimes we expect them to be more malleable and change more than we expect of fathers or men in general because we have hope for them, you know? We have
Mm.
hope that they'll be able to see us, but in that process, we stop seeing them as human beings. We end up seeing them as some sort of shield or some sort of just eternal protector when human beings at their core, you know what I mean? And it sounds like a silly thing to say, but it sometimes does require reflection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As a writer, do you have a favorite character in the play, or because you've written them all,
Yeah.
you like them all a little bit differently?
The funnest character to write was Mina, the middle sister, the lawyer.
Yes.
There's something about her where I was just like, she's so fun to write. She's so disruptive. She's so very honest all the time, even in her
Yeah.
dishonesty. It's this truth that seeps out of her. When I think of a character that's most similar to me, though, I think of Jaspinder, the eldest sister, and I'm like, oh, this character feels like almost cathartic to write at times because I was like, let me just say what I've always wanted to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me tell you about this responsibility.
Exactly, exactly. Or like, let me explore my own flaws, or like, uh, there's this moment in the play where just when there's like, oh, well, all my siblings, they always call me mean. They think I'm mean. They always call her mean. And like, that was me when I was younger. Like, my siblings, my sister talks about it sometimes. She's like, yeah, you're mean. And I was like, no, no, I can't be mean. But I was like, no, I was mean. It was a way to like protect myself. I didn't
Mm.
know how to be vulnerable, so that meanness was a way to keep people at arm's length, or I thought it was some sort of self-preservation, or if I was mean and stern, that like everyone else would fall in line and I would know how to just like keep my family together. You know what I mean? Um, but as I've gotten older, I'm much nicer now. I think. I think.
I was gonna say, just from talking to you, I was like, how? I can't imagine. I
Yeah,
can't imagine you being mean.
I think moving away from home, like I moved away when I was like 17 to go to university, and I think that distance has really softened me. So like whenever I go back now,
Mm.
it's just like no fighting, no nothing. I just want to like be with these people.
Aw, that's so
Yeah.
sweet. That's adorable. And you said you wanted to make changes with the play. Do you have any other further plans of what do you want to do with it? Do you want to submit it to somewhere else? Do you want to put it on stage somewhere else?
I think
Do you want to make it into a movie? What are your hopes and dreams for this project?
there's a lot of hopes and dreams. I think right now we're just like on the tail end of closing it, so like there's a lot of things going on. But Sanskriti and I have always talked about a screenplay. I think it lends itself well to that. But I also would love to like take it to other cities in Canada that have like prominent brown populations, like Calgary or like Surrey, and like I just need other Punjabi people in the country to like see this work. There's nothing in
Yes.
stone yet, but these are sort of the hopes of maybe where it could go or how it could grow.
Amazing. I
Hmm.
love that.
Yeah.
Now let's get into you. Let's get into your artistry and you as a creative. When did your creativity journey start? Like when did you get bit by the creative bug?
Yeah. I tell this story quite often, but it was, I think, in grade five. Our school was doing a production of The Wizard of Oz, and I wasn't in it, but people I knew were in it, and it was such a transformational experience. Seeing these people on stage in ways I had never seen them before, it felt like it ushered in other parts of their humanity that I never saw. And growing up, I, I think I went into theater because I wanted attention. And I always say this, like that's like a very surface level thing to say, but what is attention? Attention is care and attention is love. Attention is being told that you are seen. And that's what really got me into theater. So in middle school, we did musicals. I cannot sing. I can not dance. So I wasn't very successful in that. But then in high school, when we just started doing more straight plays, I think I started to find a bit more of my footing. And then I went to theater school at York. And one thing led to another, and now I'm working as as an actor. Yeah,
Amazing.
that first seed was always that seed of attention, that seed of love and care and being seen. Because I feel like as like a little queer brown boy who was very ashamed of who he was, I always felt the need to hide. I'm very introverted. I'm a very quiet person, but there's this fire in me. There's always been this thing inside me that's always been like, no, you need to be seen. You need to be seen. You need to be seen, and you need to take up space. And I think that's that sort of thing inside me forced me to go to the theater.
Amazing. That is so cool. Well, thank God for that little voice.
Yeah, I know, I know. And as I've grown up, it's obviously shifted. Like when I was younger, it was that, and now when I look at theater, I'm like, oh, there's something about this that has the potential of creating some sort of collective hope, some sort of hope for something.
Yeah.
I don't have it carved out and defined anymore, but that's what it feels like nowadays.
Amazing. That
Hmm.
is so cool.
Thank
So
you.
what were your biggest takeaways from going to York University?
Yeah, York. I feel like everyone has a very specific relationship with their theater school that they went to. If you would have asked me like right when I left York, I would have been like, "What the hell was that?" Ba, 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 ba. But now I look back and I look back on it very fondly. Um, I learned in York. What did I learn? I learned about my relationship to my body. That was the most important thing of like how my body is the tool. I had never even seen theater as a form of storytelling until I went to university. I was just like that like never clicked or like that language was never used in high school or in middle school or these places. And when I went to university and I was like, "Oh, this is storytelling, storytelling. And what is storytelling? What storytelling have you experienced in your life?" I think theater school taught me a lot about my range as an actor, my limitations, the things that I'm really good at. Um, I left very high strung and like vibrating a bit too high, and throughout the years I have mellowed out. But yeah, I think the most important thing was my relationship to my body and how the body really does keep the score, and the score was being kept in this body.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. And over your life, we'll say, what is the best and the worst advice you've ever got?
Best and the worst advice I've ever gotten. Oh, okay.
And it could be something you've told yourself too. My worst advice is always from
Yeah,
the crap voice in my head.
that's fair. I think like I have two like best advice scenarios.
Okay.
Paul Lambert, who was my acting teacher, I think in second year university, and he said he always just had this phrase. He's like, just be there, just be there. That acting isn't all this, all that. It's just being there, and sometimes that really calms me down when I feel like, oh, this is out of my control. I'm not doing this well, or like early on in the process, I'm always like, just be there. And Akosia Amo Adam, I had a meeting with her outside of university. The first thing I did when I graduated university was like, I reached out to a bunch of people I admired, and I was like, I really love your work and da 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 da, and these are the things I admire about you. Could I have a Zoom meeting with you? And I did that with like
Oh,
Rainy
nice.
Mangesha, Akosia, Serena Parmar, like just people I really admired. And she said the audience should always leave knowing more about you as a person. And that really allowed me to be like, oh, so I don't have to be like this perfectly trained actor. There's me. I am the base of this, and therefore I am allowed to come out. Sometimes in theater school, you're often like slapped on the hand if you keep repeating things that are habits or these things that you're told are bad. But I feel like
Yes.
it's just you. You know what I mean? And I think I don't have any worse advice necessarily, but like one thing that I really took away that I pushed away in theater school was and I know they're trying to protect us when teachers tell you how hard it is and how like well, it's going to be hard being an artist. You're going to go through tough times. You're going to go through tough times. And
Mm.
I value that and respect that so much, but right now that is not mine to take on. You know what I mean? I'll learn that when
Yeah.
I learn it, but right now, thank you so much. I'll put that in the back of my brain, but I'll proceed as I proceed. I think that's something that I've sort of was like that advice I appreciate it, and I know you've lived through that, but not right now. I'm not taking that on right now.
Oh, that's a good way. It's a good way to do it. I just ignored it. I was like, yeah, whatever. I was I was like, yeah, really hard, yeah, for you,
Yeah.
maybe. And then I got to the real world and I was like, oh, people don't just like knock on your door. This is crazy.
Yeah, yeah. That's also another way, of course, to deal with it. And I was a bit like that too as well. But it's also like, and sometimes in trying to protect students, we burden them with too much fear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Let them fall on their face
Yeah, and
themselves a
figure
little
it out.
bit.
Like I'll figure it out when that moment happens, and those moments have happened. And you survive, you live through it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Do you have any tips or tricks to get through those hard moments when they do come in a creative career?
Oh, just trust. I always
Mm.
just tell myself I'm trusting I'm on the right path. I'm learning all the things I need to learn. And like stick true to any promises you've made yourself. I promised myself I would never work in retail after university because I worked in retail during university prior to that, and it was just something that would not make me happy. And like so
Mm.
that's a promise I keep. Like when the theater work dries up and I'm looking for other work, that's the thing that I will not do for myself. So yeah, just any promises you make to yourself, keep them. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And as far as like acting, did you have any like really good tips and tricks that you use to get into character or anything like that?
Mm.
Any great advice you've gotten along the way or great tricks you've learned?
I've had to work on two very active shows in the last like year. I'm doing Wicked Nix right now at YPT, which will also it's closing tomorrow, so by the time this comes out, it'll be done. And then I did 15 Dogs last year at the Seagull Center. Um, and those two shows, I worked with a movement coach, and that really changed my practice. I've noticed and I've acknowledged that I'm a person that needs an outside eye. Like I need someone giving me that positive reinforcement. I need someone helping me shape a character, and like character body work is so important to me. How does the characters how do his feet move? Where's their center of gravity? How do they breathe? What are like 10 physical ticks, idiosyncratic ticks or mannerisms that they have that can distinguish them? And I find that really helps me get into a character really easily if I like spend time crafting that body. And obviously, if it's just for an audition, I'm not gonna probably do all of that. If it's just for an audition, my tip and trick is just like truth. Find the truth. Here's the lines. Here's your voice. Do whatever you can to make them connect. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely. Nice. I like that.
Hmm.
That's pretty good stuff.
Thank you.
I love it. That's so cool. And are you writing any other plays at the moment as well, or is this the baby that you want to take on to further places? Where are you at with writing?
There's another project I'm working on right now, but I'm a bit superstitious. I don't like talking too much about like.
Okay, that's fair.
No, no, no. We can definitely. I'll talk about it a little bit, but like, I spent so much of my time like when I first graduated theater school, like telling people, oh, I got an audition for this, or I got a callback for this, or da 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 da. But all my energy was and excitement was spent talking about the callback or the audition or the thing that I was writing, and it wasn't spent on actually doing it. But I'm working on another play that explores the goddess Kali, who in Hinduism is the goddess of destruction, creation. She is a symbol of rage. You may recognize her. She has her tongue sticking out, like many arms, a garland of skulls and limbs. She's a very jarring, she's a very jarring image. And I'm sort of writing this piece right now that explores her as a nurturer of contemporary queer rage, because I think there's a lot of queer rage in the world right now, especially with everything going on in politics and especially for trans people. And I'm inspired by movies about girlhood and horror, Jennifer's Body, Ginger Snaps, these movies where like the world has told these girls that they are monsters and they're going to become monstrous things, like in Carrie and stuff like that. And instead of like diverting from that or becoming the bigger person, they become that monster. They fulfill that prophecy. That like in this story, as it is right now, it's about this queer kid who stumbles upon Kali on Omegle, which used to be like a video chatting website, and she tells him in 7 days they're going to become one. Um, and yeah, it's about like what happens when you allow yourself as a marginalized person to embrace rage, to embrace the anger. What if you don't have to be the bigger person necessarily? And what if Kali can be like, she is a mother figure. I really believe that. And what if you lean into her and you learn from her, from the darkness and the light that she represents? These are all like big ideas. Obviously, it's very early in my writing for that. Like I have like a draft or two of that, but that's sort of what I'm working on right now.
That's so cool. I love that concept. That's really cool.
Thank you so much.
Well, you'll have to keep me up to date on when that one comes out.
Oh yeah. I'll hopefully it comes out soon, because I've also been putting that one aside, working on The Roof is Leaking so much that I'm also like, there's more questions. I have.
Fair enough. I mean, one project, it's a lot of work. I don't think people understand how much work goes into creating literally anything.
Yeah.
So kudos and congrats to creating a project that hits the stage at all.
Thank you, honestly. And like Wicked Nick started rehearsals, I think a few days before The Roof is Leaking started, and they opened a day after each other. And like,
Wow.
so I've been in rehearsals for both
So
of
you've
them.
been busy.
Busy. Sanskriti's really been holding down the fort in The Roof is Leaking rehearsals, but Wicked Nix has kept me sane. I'm like a very high strung person. I feel like if I was in that rehearsal room too much, I would be like, just like panicking about how things will be perceived or da 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 da. So like having this
Right.
play has been a lifesaver
Yes, absolutely.
for me.
Yeah, so tell me about that project. That's unfortunately closing tomorrow, so people listening won't be able to see this run. But
Exactly.
tell me about that project.
That project, Wicked Nix, it's about a fairy named Nyx, and he has been left alone in the forest for a year by his queen to take care of the forest. And as the year is coming up, a human being comes to live in the forest, and Nyx has to get him out. This is like sort of a simple storyline of Wicked Nyx. And this show, I love doing theater for young audiences because I always leave more confident as a performer, because it takes you back to like the simplest and the basics of performance, of joy, of play, of like there's not like this like heavy text you have to parse through. You can get to the center a little quicker, and like it feels so free and easeful to do theater for young audiences, and the audiences are so honest. Like if they like it, they'll let you know. If they don't like it, they'll let you know. But there's like this beautiful thing that happens, especially with Wicked Nyx. It's written so beautifully by Paula Wing. And the audiences have just been really vibing with it, and that's been a really cool experience. Yeah.
Amazing. That is so fun. And so true. I love that, like, performing for young people, yeah, just get to the play. Get to you. It's totally 100% okay to look stupid, to look silly. And as like an adult performer, I find that's the biggest hurdle sometimes is just like, oh my, I'm gonna look stupid doing this.
That is so, and like sometimes when you work on shows that aren't theater for young audiences, I'm like worried about how the audience is going to perceive me sometimes.
Yes.
Oh, these people have seen so much theater, or like they're so well versed. How are they going to see me in relation to other actors? But when I'm doing a TYA show, my biggest thing on my mind is I want these people to connect to this story. I want them to connect to this story. What are they going to laugh at? What are they going to get? Where are they going to be surprised? I'm more worried about their relationship to the story than I am their perception of me. Mhm.
I like that. Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
I'm gonna remember that for the next time I'm on stage too. It's just like I want you to connect the story. Forget about how I'm gonna be looking on stage or what you're gonna think of me and my artistry and like my acting abilities or lack thereof.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, that's that's handy information to take into any performance. I love that.
Yeah, I always leave a TYA show because I've done like 2 or 3 at this point. More easeful in my practice, a little more loose and free and ready to play.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Another thing I'm learning too is when you get to like, say, I know things don't work in levels, but when you get to the next level, you go, oh, that wasn't as scary or as serious as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
It's pretty normal.
Sometimes you can't imagine yourself on the other side of it, and then when you get to the other side of it, you're like, oh, okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah,
still
you're like,
me. I am still me, and I took myself there. Yeah.
exactly. That's so funny. Yeah. It's
Hmm.
resonating a lot.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm glad. Let's hope.
That's amazing. That is so cool. And so you're in this play now. Do you have anything on the horizon after this one? Are you taking a well-deserved break? Or you breathe a little bit?
Do you have something on the horizon in August? But I don't know if I can't talk about it yet. But keep an eye out,
Okay,
or
excellent.
don't. You'll see me when you see me. I'm sort of that like
That's
that as well. Where I'm like,
We'll be following you on social media.
yeah, yeah. Like you'll see me when you see me. And you ever see that speech by Michaela Cole? I think she had won some sort of an award for her writing, and she said like, "Don't be afraid to disappear." And so like,
Oh, yes.
yeah, and like between now and August, I think I'm gonna disappear a little. Like I'm gonna get my hair cut. I'm gonna probably dye it, do something funky, go to Mexico. I don't know, have fun, and
Nice.
live life. I think sometimes
Yes.
young artists were so like, what's the next gig? What's the next gig? Obviously for survival, it's
It's
really
true.
important. But like also like go out there and experience life because we're out. We're trying to represent life or aspects of it that we sometimes forget. You have to go out and live it.
100%.
Mhm.
100%. That's amazing. Let me know when you go on vacation. I'd love to come.
Yeah, yeah. I'll book you a ticket as well.
That's right.
We all, God knows we all need one.
Right? I know. I need to escape some form of this reality. So if you could change one thing about the Canadian theater industry or the entertainment industry, what would you change?
Hmm. It's a really good question.
I mean, it could be a few things if you think of a few.
I like. There's other people who can articulate so many better things than I can, but like 2 things come to mind right away. Oh, I don't know if I should. Oh, I'm gonna say like I think like you don't like we shouldn't treat people in theater well just based on like how relatively important you find them to your career. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot of that sometimes where I'm in a room and I'm like aware I'm not the most important or the most impressive person there. I am fairly impressive, but I might not be the most impressive person there. And you're like, huh, no one talks to me. Or like this idea that like we only create relationships or we only engage to get something out of it. And I think
Yes.
that's like a general thing, but like in theater and film and TV, you can see that a lot here and there. But I wish we did a little less of that and more just curiosity of people as human beings rather than like what have you done? What can I get from
Yeah.
you? How do I locate you in the power map of my mind?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
something I
Are you a producer or director?
literally like
Oh, you're not?
yeah. Let me go over here. I just don't think it's like a helpful or like creates an environment that anyone would want to work in.
Mm.
Um, Also, oh, this one I'm like, if, no, I'm not gonna say this one. I'm not gonna say.
All right.
Okay, never
We'll
mind.
save it.
Never
We'll
mind.
save
I
it.
was like, that one's a bit too controversial. I'm just gonna leave that in my back pocket.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I'll ask you next time I
Okay.
interview you. Like,
Yeah.
can we say it now?
Off record.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm pretty much learning the same thing of like, I'll go to events, and networking to me used to be like, um, I just didn't like networking because it felt like that.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking to somebody to see what they can get from each other,
Mm-hmm.
and not actually like having a conversation, but like, what can I get from you? Are you a director or a producer? Put me in your next project, that kind of stuff. Or it was, oh, well, I've done this and I've worked with this celebrity and this celebrity. And you're like, great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I learned nothing about you. But now I'm finding I like networking better when it's just like, maybe there's a room full of people, but I only talk to like 3 people that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, that'll be the slow way to network, sure. Like, I could just walk around and hand out my business card or headshot, whatever, to everyone. But I so much more enjoy connecting genuinely and having real conversation with like 3 people maximum. and in a night. And I say maximum because that's all it's been. It's not that I plan. I'm like, oh, 3, great. Gonna go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
Ooh,
you-
can't talk to you, actually. I hit my max.
Hit my 3 limit max.
Exactly. But I like doing that better. So yeah, the networking and collaboration and the hierarchy that's in society, but also just like in our heads at the same time.
Yeah.
It could go.
Yeah, it could definitely go.
It could go.
It like drains me to do that, and it's like I don't think it's beneficial to anyone. I don't think anyone really like leaves
Yeah.
those interactions being like, yeah, wow, that was fantastic. It's just, I feel like the older I get, the less time I feel like I have for that.
Yes,
My social
that's
battery is only so much nowadays. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm introverted when I don't. What's the in between introvert and extrovert? Because I'm there. So like I'm extroverted when I'm like with my people, or I know some people, and they already know like what to expect from
Yes.
this. But in a room full of people I don't know, I'm in the corner. I'm standing there going, "Oh my God, please somebody come talk to me because I have no idea how to break the ice."
I'm exactly like that. Like, if I know you, I'll like
Yeah.
be the most outgoing person. But like, if I'm in a room full of strangers, I usually will not speak unless spoken to.
Yeah, I used to have that rule. I used to have the rule, I'm not talking to anyone unless somebody talks to me first.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then I went to an acting class and I was like, okay, you're going to say hi first to one person.
Yeah.
And so I would make it a game in my head of like, okay, we're going to do some self-improvement.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I'm still so shy, and when I don't know anyone, I'm like, oh, this is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking and you're in conversation with people, it's fine, and you leave being like, that was great.
Yeah.
But it's just the buildup of like, I'm going to say hi to a group of people. They're all going to be holding their drinks, look at me, go, why are you talking? And you're like, this is Canada. It actually doesn't happen.
And God knows I'm such an anxious person already. Like, and people
Right?
expect, like, if you're a performer, that you're very outgoing, and I
Yes.
am not. Like, I feel like my real self and the stage self feel like sometimes 2 separate things. Like, I have a script. I know where the story is going. I will, you know what I mean? There's structure that I'm given to play in. That I'm also like that a little bit.
Exactly. Do you find it difficult to perform in front of people who know you well, like family or close friends?
No. No.
I get weird.
Yeah. No, 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 that's totally makes sense though, because like they know you, you know what I mean? They know you in and out. But
Yeah.
usually when I perform in front of people that like family or people that love me, I'm like,
Mm.
oh, I can't wait to impress them. Watch what I can do.
Nice,
That's
nice.
that's how I feel. Yeah.
That's a good reframe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal that too. I'm just how do we reframe this?
Yeah. Usually I get more nervous like performing in Canadian theater when you look out and you're like, oh, it's a sea of white faces. Okay, here we go.
Which is most of
Yeah,
Canadian theater.
95% of the time that's what you have.
Every time I invite somebody to my play, they're like, yo, I'm the youngest person here. And they'll be
Yeah.
like in their 40s or whatever. They're like, I'm the youngest person in this audience right now.
Yeah.
Just a sea of white cotton heads, like just like balding
100%.
gray hair.
Like I love you, thank you for your support. But like sometimes there is like a desire to like be like, oh, I wish there was like more my people in the audience as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. And especially with the content of The Roof is Leaking. It's made for a certain audience
Yeah.
where you're just like, I want, because they'll get it the most,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. And like those audiences have been so special. I This play has reframed my brain a little bit where I've been like what the feedback that I'm getting from the community, not the theater people, but like the actual community members who live in Brampton who don't come to theater and they've come to see this play has like touched my heart and like penetrated it more than like things that critics say or things that more refined. I use that because I don't have
That's
that.
written very loosely.
Yeah, yeah. More than maybe what they necessarily have to say about the work.
Yeah.
Because it feels like there's this big gap in the Canadian canon of like works by, not works by South Asian people, but family dramas that are based around South Asian people, Punjabi people.
But also just South Asian art.
Yes, yes. We have great writers, obviously Anushri Roy, Serena Parmar, Anita Majumdar. These are people that like have laid down the path for us. But even then, it's like a small pool. But South Asians make up the biggest immigrant population in Canada, and that is such a contentious point right now. Like people hate South Asian people in this country right now, and it's
Yeah,
like,
it is insane.
the things I see on social media disgust me, but also in many ways, this is the Canada I know. To be quite honest, this is the Canada
Yeah.
I grew up knowing. Like I used to wear a turban when I was young. I've seen this and I've heard these things before, and it's just rearing its ugly head again. Everyone needs a scapegoat. We are the scapegoats right now, and I think it's so important
Yeah.
in a time like this to be like, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm actually, my stories are intrinsic to the fabric of this country, just like your stories are, and
Right.
we're not going to cower in fear. All that to say, there's this like gap in like South Asian family dramas, and we really wanted to create something that resonated with that or helped fill that gap in a little more because again we make up such a big part of the population, but our stories are rarely told on stage. I think theaters don't capitalize enough on like South Asian audiences, and this year we saw a lot. We saw Trident Moon, we saw Mahabharata, we saw The Roof is Leaking, but it's this feeling in my gut where I'm like, okay, now are we gonna wait another 5 to 10 years to see this?
Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully not.
Hopefully
No.
not. Hopefully not. And I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of brown voices, like emerging voices, coming into theater, and I think things are really changing, or I hope they do. Like just at Fringe, I think it was last year. There was like the most South Asian shows ever that were at Toronto Fringe, and that was fantastic to see. So I don't think we're going anywhere, and no one's scaring us away anywhere.
Yeah.
They're here, you know.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Hmm.
Amazing. What Fringe shows? Did you see any Fringe shows last year?
No.
That's hilarious. I'm dead. I was like, oh, let's gab about Fringe. That's hilarious.
No.
To be fair, okay, so last year
Yeah.
I did reviews for shows, but before that I think I hadn't been to Fringe like in a while, and I only saw like one or two shows ever. Not even like in a year, like ever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's so funny.
I usually fringe more, but ever since the pandemic, I just haven't gotten back on it. But I was supporting from a distance. I was like, this is fantastic.
Oh,
I
yes,
love this.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I will get to more fringe shows this year. I will.
Yeah, well, now I'm going to hold you to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
After your vacation to Mexico.
Yeah. I better
You're
be at the
going to
fringe. Yeah, clocking in my hours.
That's right. I love that. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and on top of your 2 shows going on right now and everything else, like personal life aside, like 2 shows, coming to talk to me. My gosh, you're a busy person. So
Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Give this episode some love. Give it a like, comment what resonated with you, and I will see you in the next interview.